Like every religion and belief, there is an origin story in order to understand and explain the beginning of life, space, and the earth. It is important to study and look at origin storytelling because it's such a big part of our history. To lose that would literally be losing chunks of the timeline of civilization. Plus, how would we be able to justify certain miraculous things or explain and comprehend why certain things happen the way that they do without a little guidance from the origin storytelling? And comparing the differences of the origin stories from different religions and eras show that storytelling is still being used today, as well as how similar origin stories can be from different places. To begin with modern day storytelling, I chose Narnia. Narnia is a place from another universe, but even Narnia has its own unique origin story, just like any other place or story before it. The Chronicles of Narnia, specifically The Magician's Nephew, is by C.S. Lewis, which is a modern day fantasy fairy tale twist to explain how the world came to be in the Christian belief. The image that you see highlights some key points in the Narnian story. The beginning starts off, of course, with a little magic in the form of rings. Wearing them transports you into the woods between worlds, an adventure taken by two children. What looks like a large forest with lots of pools in which you can travel. The beginning of Narnia is called Into Creation by Song, sung by the great lion Aslan himself. First comes light, then the separation of sky and below, lighting up the night sky, twinkling, the stars scatter the sky. The land and ground beneath the children begin to form land and ocean as the singing increases and becomes louder. From the depths of the earth, Aslan calls all types of animals, and with it he gives them the ability of thinking and language to speak. But even from a world so young, evil has already entered its domain. Disguised as a beautiful woman is actually an evil witch that tagged along with the children, of course, involving an apple. Next, we have the Greek origin stories. Based off of what we know from Hesiodus, the beginning story starts off with the Muses singing in harmony, telling the origin story, similar to the way Narnia was sung into creation. The Greek origin starts off there was only chaos and emptiness. From emptiness came forth three primordial deputies. Gaia, Mother Earth, Eros, Love, and Tartarus, the underworld. Unlike Narnia or the Genesis, states that God or Aslan calls the creation into play, the Greeks are more like being deputies, each having their own power and a part to play in the creation than just one person. From chaos comes darkness and Nynx, which is night. From night there's many offsprings. Gaia, who is Mother Earth, gave birth to Uranus, the starry sky, who also becomes her husband, making three one-eyed Cyclops, three 100-handed Hetoncheires, and 12 Titans. The most famous we know, Kronos. Kronos, after defeating his father, becomes the next ruler, and with his sister wife Rhea giving birth to the next generations, the Olympians, and this is yet the beginning of evil and a cycle in the Greek culture. As we know, Kronos is disturbed because he's afraid that because he betrayed his father, his kids will grow up to overthrow him from his power to seat. So he basically swallows his kids after birth, putting Rhea in turmoil. And of course, Rhea derives a plan to save her youngest son from such a fate, and it works. Years later, just like Kronos foretold, Zeus comes back having him puking up all his siblings, and after freeing his uncles, the Cyclops and Hetoncheires, we enter a 10-year battle that ultimately the Olympians win, and from this we see that the creation of man, the Pandora box, and much others that define the godlike attributes in that of man. Next comes Genesis from the Christian origin stories. We know this Genesis very well. The beginning of the Bible. There was nothingness but the Spirit of the Lord. However, he created the heavens and the earth, but it is still surrounded by darkness. In 6 days, God creates the world and man in his image, and he sees all that is good, so that he rests on the seventh day. Day 1, creation of light separating light from dark, which is day and night. Day 2, the skies. Day 3, sea and land vegetation of all sorts. Day 4, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Day 5, creation of the sea and birds of the air. Day 6, livestock and animals of the earth, and man made in the image of God, so that we may rule over the animals and vegetation. Day 7, rest. But we also know that evil has entered the Garden of Evil. Much like Narnia, it is temptation, false accusations, and personal turmoil. And of course, in Genesis, it comes in the disguise of a snake, whispering deceit, and of course the very apple that dooms Adam and Eve. The takeaway is that even modern day storytelling reflects something of the originals. Narnia has pieces that hint at both the Christian Genesis as well as the Greek mythology origins. Like the Christian Genesis, Narnia incorporates the deceit of evil, not of a snake but an evil witch, still involving an apple. But still incorporating to the Greek mythology, Narnia is sung into creation like a lot of Greek stories that are hymns. And the Genesis and the Greek origins have similar attributes that don't go too far apart. Where each of them follow a sequence of how things come to be, the difference is that Genesis, there is only God commanding the creation, while the Greeks have more than one person playing that role. It is important to see that no matter how far we go, origin stories have similar foundations that get passed on.